some point. So how do you do a proper diagnosis? You take a full history of the child. Okay? Now again, I am not a doctor. I am not teaching you how to handle ADHD. I'm just telling you what the sort of dynamic is out there and what the proper procedure is considered to be. You take a full history of the child. You make sure that these are not transient symptoms. These are not things that just cropped up because there was, a divorce in the family or bullying at school. This is something that has been an issue since before the age. It used to be the age of 7, now it's the age of 12. Nonetheless, this is supposed to have been something that has been going on for a long time. Okay? Second of all, you need to have these problems manifest themselves in 2 different settings. If the child's a nightmare at school, but a perfect angel at home, okay, that ain't ADHD. Okay? Something else, and it's something significant, and it's something that the parent and the child should receive help dealing with. However, ADHD, it is not. It needs to be something that, if for a child at least, is at home and at school, perhaps in social settings, but again, that's a little bit different. And you have to rule out other causes. It's a diagnosis of exclusion, not unlike Alzheimer's or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. It has to be the problems that are not attributable to any other cause. So, you're supposed to be really careful about this. It's not the kind of thing that you do in 15 minutes. Oh, the other thing is that the problems used to have to impair the child's functioning. Impair. They changed it last year to interfere, which certainly to me widens the net. It makes it easier to consider the problems worthy of a diagnosis. Now, how do you not diagnose ADHD? You do not diagnose ADHD by asking them the 18 questions on a form, rating them from 0 to 13, adding up the answers and seeing what their score is. You also do not diagnose ADHD by prescribing medication like Adderall or Concerta or whatever and say, give Johnny this medication and see if it helps, and then maybe that's because he has ADHD. But the problem is that the medication basically helps everybody, okay? It would help all within certain limits. It would help all of us focus and concentrate and get work done generally, okay? I mean, it's the equivalent of saying, gee, put on these platform shoes, see if they make you taller. So, it's like, come on. All right, we're going to get to that in a minute. And then you don't say, well, gee, I only have 15 minutes for this patient, and therefore, I didn't have time to make the full proper diagnosis. When doctors tell me that, and again, I'm not crapping on doctors in the same way you don't want to be crapped on either, okay? But when they say that, I say, okay, well, then when I use your comments in my story, I'll misquote you because I just didn't have time to get it right. They love that. All right. So the thing is that there's abuse of this system all over the place. Here's a senior at a suburban Philadelphia high school. I lie to my psychiatrist. If you keep playing the angsty teen role, you'll get something good. I mean, kids are just... Then these 18 question forms, okay? Here's one filled out by a young man who had just graduated college, but nonetheless, this is the actual form that he filled out, and all these different symptoms. He rates himself from 0 to 3, and they add them all up. He gets a score of 22, boom. Gets diagnosed with ADD inattentive type, which was complete horse hockey. The guy just faked it, okay? Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He got addicted to the medication, went psychotic, and hung himself in his apartment. Now, here is which by the way is an extraordinarily rare circumstance, but nonetheless something to be noted. Now, here's another diagnostic procedure performed by a Harvard University nurse practitioner. Now again, there are a lot of great nurse practitioners out there. No one should interpret this any other way. This actual person, when she diagnosed Johnny Edwards, who was a freshman at Harvard, she said, and I quote in her deposition, "The fact that he used stimulant drinks like Red Bull is always a marker for me when evaluating a youngster for attention deficit disorder." So yeah, if you like 5-hour energy, you probably have a brain disorder. So there's just there's this chaos, there's this wild west in so many clinical settings. You know, a lot of doctors are doing it right, but it only takes one in each town to create a situation where either parents or adults, you know, parents of children or adults just for the workplace are going to go and try to get these medications that can be, in some settings, performance enhancers, both for the child and for the adult.